We woke up this morning to the, I was going to say alarming, but horrifying is probably better, horrifying news that the United States and Israel had attacked Iran. Iran confirms that the Ayatollah was killed in the strikes today, but we are also hearing from Al Jazeera and other news outlets that Israel and the United States killed more than 100 people, including dozens and dozens of children, because those strikes included schools. And I want to take a few moments here and talk about how I personally am reacting to this news and some thoughts that I have about what we, the American people, can do, how we can process what's happening, and how we should be responding. And I'm not going to minimize people's concerns in this moment at all. You have a right to be really upset and to be really worried, to be shaken, disturbed, to be grieving, to be outraged. Whatever your emotions are in this moment, they are valid. This morning, I had lots of people in my DMs. I had lots of people in my comments of another video that I had pre-scheduled to publish this morning, right? First of all, I appreciate that folks on YouTube will use my comment section to chat with each other or to try and inform me about a breaking issue, and that y'all don't feel constrained by the topic of the video. I appreciate people using any outlet for communication that they can. And I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to respond in the moment. I've been in a training all day long, kind of an advanced de-escalation training. It was a management of aggressive behaviors training, a MOAB training, if you're familiar with that course. And so now it's going for 6:30 in the evening, and I'm finally home and able to sit down and catch up on the news, everything that has evolved around this story since the last time I was able to open my phone during lunchtime. I'm just looking at the comments from people, and I'm reading through the updated news, and it feels really dark. It feels really feels terrible. In fact, it can feel so terrible that we become very overwhelmed and shut down because, right, we don't know what's going to happen next, and whatever happens next, we have this sinking sense that it won't be good. Likewise, I think there's a lot of grief and outrage and especially guilt for American citizens to know that our taxpayer dollars have funded this, right? That our federal government, Donald Trump, and those in his regime have partnered with Israel to strike a girls' school, killing 108 people, dozens of girls. It's an elementary school. An elementary school was hit during this offensive attack by the United States and Israel against Iran this morning. Earlier today, we had a short break in our training, and a couple of us were talking, trying to process this news about the strikes against Iran. And I said, what kind of person goes and kills little children in order to distract from all of the awful things that he's doing in our borders, right? To try and distract from how much he's wrecking the economy, to distract from the Epstein files, to distract from the fact that he's trying to steal the midterms. He went and participated in killing hundreds of civilians. He's literally willing to start a war. And, of course, obviously the answer that someone else in our group said, well, it's because he's a malignant narcissist, right? Like he doesn't see human beings as human, right? They don't have any value to him other than how he can use them and murder them in order to keep himself out of prison, in order to enrich himself and advance his fascist agenda. And I know that that's the reality of who is running the United States right now. 70 million Americans elected a malignant narcissist who is a warmonger, right? Every accusation is a confession from him, but also just like the amount of lying and dissembling. He loves to call himself the peace president, right? He ran on this platform of I'm going to end all wars, and he brags that he ended 7 or 8 wars. None of that is true. He has been a warmonger. He and Pete Hegseth keep calling the Department of Defense the Department of War. These guys want war for multiple reasons. Real quick here, every time I see news outlets calling the Department of Defense the Department of War, that's not its actual name. Stop normalizing the terminology, the propaganda of the regime. It's the Department of Defense. Fascist warmongers are weaponizing our government to literally try and start World War III. Stop fucking normalizing it, media outlets, whatever, Huffington Post, AP, ABC, stop normalizing it. We don't have a Department of War in this country. We will not be normalizing warmongering in this country. We all should be outraged in this moment. Instead of lending credibility using the terminology of the regime, normalizing their extreme, outrageous behavior. I don't know about y'all, but this morning when I read this news, my first thought, actually I've had this thought many times over the last several years because Donald Trump and Bibi are like this, right? You would say they're like this, but it's really Donald Trump and Bibi right on top of him, right? Same thing. Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, right? He thinks they're buddies. They're using him. Right? Is Trump like a sad Mussolini figure? I don't know. But anyway, it is very much this axis of evil feeling, right? That's what I keep thinking of every time I look at Donald Trump allowing Vladimir Putin, an international war criminal, to land in Alaska, rolling out the red carpet for him. Anytime Trump meets with Bibi, I'm just thinking like we are run by a guy who wants to be the axis of evil. The United States are not the good guys. We're not the good guys. We're not the allies here. Our government, the regime that is oppressing the American people, is warmongering abroad. And like the axis of evil in 2026 is Israel, Russia, the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. As so many of us like to say, we are no longer the land of the free for right now, but we are definitely the home of the brave. And if we're looking at how we want to respond, again, whatever your feelings are valid, but feelings are one thing, actions are another. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that our feelings cannot dictate our actions in this moment. If we're overwhelmed and we want to shut down, if we're really scared that like this is the beginning of World War III, first of all, last time they bombed Iran in June of 2025, we were worried that that was going to kick off World War III. I saw people all over social media, right? Doomers especially saying this is the beginning of World War III. Whether it is or is not, we don't know yet because we don't know what will happen next. But what we do know is that we can control what actions we take. Remember when I made a video a couple of weeks ago referencing former Black Panther Speaks, how he talks about agency. We have agency in this moment. It can feel very overwhelming to look at the news today and think that our country is dragging us into World War III, and we can feel very powerless, but we have agency in this moment. And when we look at the context of what Trump is doing, warmongering in Iran, attacking Iran, we have to understand that his motivation there is not actually really about regime change. I think there's a level at which it's about kissing up to Bibi, right? Because Trump, like really strong men tend to adore other strong men and they think that they're on the same level as them. But like Trump clearly has kissed Bibi's butt and Putin's butt for years and years. And how much of that is because of the Epstein files versus his personal adoration of these two strong men? Whatever. But speaking of, right, we have to understand that this action is primarily being undertaken because Donald Trump is freaking the fuck out about the Epstein files investigation. He's freaking the fuck out about the midterms. And he's hoping that if he warmongers, he will distract you. If he drags us into a war of aggression, that he will distract the American people from the Epstein files, in which his name appears more than 1 million times. And that we will be so worried on what's happening over in Iran that we don't look at the ways that Republicans are undermining free and fair elections all across the country. We have the kind of vile, narcissistic president that will start a war to distract from the crimes he's committing here and the ways he's trying to destroy democracy here. And that's why it's so important that we recognize our agency, we recognize our power, and we understand that if we don't want a war with Iran, if we don't want to be part of the axis of evil with Israel, if we want justice for the Epstein victims, if we want to defend democracy, then we have to move. That the power resides with us, the American people. That we are not powerless, we are multitude. There's 340 million of us. And this action today is one that like Republicans don't, nobody wants this. Now, whether Republicans will find their spine and stand up, right? Senator Tammy Duckworth earlier today called on all her Republican colleagues to vote yes on a war powers resolution that would limit Donald Trump from being able to use force in Iran. She said if there was ever a time for Republicans to find their spines, it's now, when a commander-in-chief readily admits that he's choosing to put our troops' lives at risk, that he's ready to put boots on the ground without a legitimate imminent threat to our homeland or our citizens. Duckworth said that MAGA is not supportive of this and that many Republican supporters are not going to support him in this action and that they are appalled by it. Will they find their spines? Is this a chance for them to partner with us to finally stand up against what Trump is doing? Is there a line where it's too far for them? I don't know, but I do know that we have power to pressure them. Public outrage, mass public protest, calling your elected officials, organizing in earnest, right? That's what we have to do in order to get Republicans to push back against this, to get Congress to do their fucking job and constrain Donald Trump. He's out of control. The executive is out of control. And Republicans who are choosing to sit on their hands in this moment in time are entirely complicit in the deaths of dozens of little children today and whatever comes in the next days and weeks. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. I will probably be back more later tonight and tomorrow on this subject.